Hello everybody, my name is Zenokami and you are here to watch another Python video tutorial. Today we're here to talk about for loops. Now in general, generally speaking, for loops are used mainly for iterations of, for Python they're called lists, and other programming languages they're called arrays. Now if you're not sure what the arrays are or what lists are, we will cover them in a next Python video. But for now, just bear with me in mind. Now I get ready to pull my folder up. We're gonna go ahead and create a new Python file. We're gonna call this file for loops practice.py. Yes. Alright, from here we have our practice file created. We're going to go ahead and open this up in idle and actually get this started. Now, just to show you what basically for loops can really do, I've already covered the basis for while loops. They're essentially the same thing, except while loops can be used met by a condition, whereas for loops are usually it iterates from a particular variable amount. Let's cover what a while loop did from before. So we can have a variable called a equal 10. Now, while a equals 10, print hey, and this is going to be an infinite loop. Yes. And it goes on. Now, what some people usually do with while loops is have a kind of a condition inside the while loop itself. Generally speaking, you get something like this. While a equals 10, well, you know what, I can is greater than 1, and then what after it prints a hey, we're going to have a minus equals 1, and this should run a few times but will stop eventually. Oops, I used the wrong symbol. There we go. So as you can see, it printed a limited number of times. I do believe around 9 or 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Indeed, because once it hit 0, it didn't print out anything else. Now, say for instance, you'll probably learn later on in your programming days that you may want a specific for loop iteration. So what a for loop can do is basically, you can have a list. So there are 3 elements in this list. Therefore, if we do a for loop, so for items in my list, and you do a colon at the end, that's the correct syntax. You can just now do print I'm on number comma my list at the index. Matter of fact, let me make that item. And this is one thing that you will kind of see happen a lot when you're dealing with for loops and arrays. There's always something called your index and the range of said index. When you do your arrays, they don't register as 1, 2, and 3. They register as position 0, position 1, and position 2, and each position has a value, and these are the values set in it. So that's why. And when we did this printed out 3 times, but on the 3rd time it registered as it should have had a 4th number, because that's just kind of how the for statement works. So generally speaking, you probably want to do item minus 1, and then it should work flawlessly. So what can for loops particularly do for you? Well, I've actually spent time working on a few examples. If I can find the right example, I think this is it. And we'll cover most of this mainly later when we get to the arrays video. But I mean, just generally speaking, for loops are used basically, you want to repeat n number of times. So, for instance, I showed you earlier with this little code up here for item in my list for the items in this, print out that item or that particular index for that array. For loops are just used to iterate or to loop in number of times. That's basically what you have to remember. Now, you always don't have to use a list to do a for loop. What I mean by that is, and like I said, we'll cover arrays/lists for Python in a upcoming video. But speaking just purely for loops, you can also use the built-in function known as range. So for instance, for item in range, and we can start at 0 and go to 3, print hello. Gotta run it. And it'll print hello 3 times. And this is a better way to actually keep track for, if you're early in programming or you're just getting used to for loops, because when you're dealing with indexes and inside of arrays, like I said, you can always get that index out of range thing, and that is one of the most annoying things to track down. It is extremely annoying, but once you get used to it, you will find arrays to be really helpful, especially with for loops. So I bet you're wondering, what can you use for loops for? Like, what can you code right now for loops? And there's a few of many things that you can actually do with them. You can make programs ranging from particular types of numbers like prime numbers, I think real numbers. That requires a lot of algorithmic planning. Not a lot, but you got to know what you're doing, and I will actually do a video about that separately. But one thing that I usually love to do with for loops is just create these weird 3D. Not the image itself isn't 3D, but a set of arrays that are marked with XY coordinates for a 2D graph. So you have your X and Y axis, and you can have all these plots listed in a particular type of order. And to do that is actually kind of weird, but it's pretty neat. So generally speaking, you want to have a lot of user proofing in your code. I'm gonna kind of cut through that because I'm trying to keep it kind of simple, sort of kind of simple here. So we're just gonna have our X. Let's call them X chords equals. Let's do 1, 5, 12, 20. We'll just do 4 values. Y chords equals 8, 11, 2, and 17, just because. I do need a third array, and this will be our coordinates. Hope I spelled that correctly. We'll put that there. And now we'll basically just do, generally speaking, there's other ways you can go about this particular part, but me personally, just for common, what they call it, muscle memory, it's a habit of mine. I always do a my range, and I always do the length of the max between the X chords and the Y chords. And what this will do is it'll actually see which one has the bigger or more items inside of the array, and then it'll give me back which one of those, and then I'll get the length of that one, and then that'll be my range. So from there, I'm gonna go ahead and start my for loop. For generally speaking, I use I and J only because they're the standard for programming. So we're gonna have I and range, my range. Oh, no. Coordinates. Dot, I think was append. And we're going to set up multiple arrays inside the array. So generally speaking, you'll probably see this in Python help sites. They call it a list of lists. So basically, they're just arrays inside of arrays. So from here, I want thing for J in range, my range. We'll call this XY for X and Y. It'll equal X coords at I, as well as Y coords at J, and then we'll go ahead and do coordinates at I dot append XY. And I think this will actually work. And then we simply print out so now I got it. So we'll do print out coordinates, and it's gonna look kind of wonky, I think, if this code even runs. No, coordinates is not defined at line 7. I must have misspelled something. Yeah, there we go. And you see how wonky this all looks? This is a list, and it's printing out the list, but as you can see, it printed it all on a one line. So I have my my X and Y location 1 and 8. As you go back to this 1, 8, 1, 11, 1, 2, and it basically create what is it called? Was it a matrix? I can't remember. It's basically for every first value, it creates a set of many values. And then if you want to make this look a little better, what you can do is do a print of a space. That you can do for probably stick with I, and range, my range, because we're still using oh no, we got to get a new range. My range equals the length of coordinates. So my range, print out coordinates I, and this will actually put them all on their own separate lines, and it'll look neater. So then you have all these values for locations for the first X value. So 1, 8, 1, 11, 1, 2, 1, 17. So basically 1, 8, 1, 11, 1, 2, 1, 17, and then you're gonna go 5, 8, 5, 11, 5, 2, 5, 17. And I do believe, yeah, this is called the matrix. I remember. I've been doing a lot of practice programs lately, so my mind has been scattered all around the nexus, I guess you could call it. And there you go. So basically our for loops only iterated based on our range. So the range of our arrays are 4 items. So that's 0, 1, 2, and 3. So that's why we have 4 values for every 4 variables. Simple, right? Hopefully. If you have any more questions about for loops, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Generally speaking, if you don't really like for loops, you can just stick with the while loops, like I showed you earlier with the conditional branches and whatnot. Like set a variable, and then instead of a while loop, just iterate that variable, by itself. But that's more of a conditional thing. If you want something that's a little bit more precise and direct towards a particular variable, and this is for when you get a little bit more advanced in coding, that's what for loops are used for. And hopefully, if you're still not sure about arrays just yet and what append and all these brackets are used for, just stay tuned. We're gonna have our next video, hopefully next week, about arrays. So guys, thank you so much for watching our Python video tutorials. Sorry that I haven't had more of these lately. Every time I got ready to record them, I kind of got sidetracked with my own little projects. And you can go to our GitHub page, which is github.org. Which is basically, as you can see, we've been doing a lot of things like prime numbers, system info. We've been working on a math equation, but this is not, we haven't really pushed the updates to this one yet. We still have our old ones like the binary edition. We still have some Python TK enter for the GUI reference series coming up. But that's a completely different Python series altogether, and I really want to have that organized before I get started on that. Generally speaking, I'll show you what that program is like. So if I'm pretty sure I've shown this before, but this is one of the little testing things that I've been working on for GUIs. So essentially, you have your console here, and this is going to output your information. So basically, if I do Fahrenheit to Celsius, and I want to do something like 12, and I convert it. So 12 degrees Fahrenheit in Celsius is -11. So that's why if we can do -11.1111111, we should get something around 12. I didn't count how many ones this is. It should be around 12 though. Yep, I think we did have one too many. Whatever, you get the point. And it basically tells you exactly what you're doing for every button press. And I've been working with this basically to work on a GUI set of tutorials where you can actually track every single thing your GUI is doing. I even want to get it to the point where it tells you when the GUI is updating itself. But that may be more problematic because it may just spam the console. But we will see, and etc. And if you even press quit, it closes. So guys, that's just a little bit what you can expect for the future. Please check out our website and our forums if you have any questions or requests of what tutorials to do in Python. Thank you so much. We'll still be here. Thank you for watching. To the next video, guys. Take care.